Let's get this show on the road.
What's this? This is new, bro. I'm not used to being over here. People,
I know.
don't be alarmed.
That's G looks thick today.
Grow all that facial furs in 1 week, how man?
Yeah,
It's all
exactly.
just sprouted out.
Bit of glasses and everything.
Yeah,
Yeah,
man. Yeah, man. Changing up
just
today, people.
exactly. Yeah, well, for people who are watching, for people who are listening, you ain't gonna notice a difference. It does matter.
Well,
But for,
if you ain't watching, get on YouTube and find out what the difference
yeah,
is. There you go.
exactly. There you go. Find a different. Oh, I won't say anything there. I won't say anything.
That's it.
Just
That's
jump
it.
jump on YouTube and just have a quick look. But
Yeah.
and don't be disappointed.
Clickbait. Just,
Yeah,
what's that? Fucking audio bait. That's what that is.
yeah, exactly. There you go. What's cracking, man? Clean Energy Brown is
Clean Energy
you're being
Brown.
environmentally friendly this week. Just this
Ah,
week.
I just realized that connotation. I didn't actually take it that
Yeah,
way. I just took it
yeah.
as being clean through your heart and through your kind of your way to people around you, and how that kind of comes knocking back is a little. I'll get into it straight away.
Ah,
Um, so I went down to London yesterday to train a client of mine. It wasn't actually London, North London, Enfield.
yeah.
Um,
Okay.
and basically
Respect for the
it's
trek, man.
yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that. It was just you know me. I'm happy to jump in my car anytime. Me and my car are like
Yeah.
Donkey and Shrek, man. Donkey and Shrek, just on on the road again. She's a noble steed, man. She's a noble steed.
Yeah.
If anyone has never seen my car, is a Ford C-Max, and I love her.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name I gave her. I think I called her Fiona in line with the whole Shrek thing.
Yeah.
She's legit such a lovely car because I feel so like housed. Jeez, God.
Oh man, I'm creasing. That was fucking brilliant.
I feel so like cocooned within this lovely little car. I've come from a Renault Clio, right, which was so small
Right.
that I could reach
Yeah.
over and adjust the wing mirror by just kind of stretching my arm out, right? That's how small that damn car was, right? And now I have this like big Bertha of a vehicle, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm down for a trip at any time, man. She's super comfortable, easy cruising all the way there, all the way
Yeah.
back. And okay, so I come down to train my client, and she's brand new to the process, never trained before, 50 years old, like first time going after the gym game. So yeah, she's doing really well. I get to the gym and it's a David Lloyd's in Enfield, right? And I walk into the reception and I say, "Hi, I'm here to train my client." She said she would get me a day pass. I want to be totally honest, a PT. I'm not here to kind of disrupt your gym floor. I'm not here to kind of come in and kind of and be sneaky. I would rather just tell you that I would love to go in and train her. And that's it. I'm literally down for the day. I'm not gonna try and hang around and kind of like take money and not pay rent or whatever. But yeah, let's go. Is that cool? And the guy behind reception was just super sound. He was like, yeah,
Nice.
no problems at all. Have a seat and we'll let you in when she arrives. I was like, okay, wicked. I go and sit down, and 2 minutes later he's like, oh, well, what do you charge? And I was like, oh, well, this. How it kind of breaks down. I was like, well, why do you ask? He was like, well, I'm looking for a PT. I was like, oh, really? That's interesting. I was like, you've got plenty of PTs here, right? I
Yeah.
assume massive David Lloyd's, like indoor tennis courts and basketball courts and this, that, and the other, everything, right? Big old gym floor, loads of trainers. But you're asking me, and I was like, okay. And he was, yeah, I just get a good vibe from you. So yeah, it'll be
Nice.
fun to talk to you a bit more. I was like, oh, sweet man, thank you very much. I really appreciate that. And you just kind of feel like I told a mate of mine afterwards. He was like, "That's just that energy, man. You walked in with a good heart, clean energy, and he picked up on that, and he felt secure, he felt happy with it, and it was just that easy. Like we're not selling, we're not trying to push things on people. We're just trying to be genuine. We're just trying to be like for the person." And he was just happy to be like, "Yeah, please, let's go further with this." And yeah, there we go. Like out of
Bam.
one trip to train a client, you end up kind of helping somebody else out as well. Yeah, just nice. It was a nice little surprise out of nowhere.
Bro, that is quality, man.
It's cool, right?
David Lloyd Enfield better watch out from the man from Leicester.
It was fun, man. It was fun. It was just total random. But then you got not to diss them. I don't know some of the PTs. But okay, what's going on with social distancing right now? I need to ask this, right? So I'm on the gym floor yesterday. Social distancing, COVID, the whole bonanza, right? There's gym instructors on the gym floor wearing aprons, bro.
Aprons.
Aprons.
What?
What the hell is this about? Like, if you
Wow.
walk into a ward in the NHS and there's people wearing aprons, you wouldn't bat an eyelid, right? Because it's like, okay, maybe dealing with food, dealing with patients that need this level of PPE. Why are we wearing aprons on a gym floor? Like, were we about to move like sick patients or like help somebody off the floor who's just done too many dead bugs? Like, what the hell's going on here?
You know what I realized? They've listened to the podcast last week. They'd been doing cooker push-ups, innit? They, they've got their apron on. They're supposed to be in the kitchen doing the cooker push-ups. Shout out to Raminda. Raminda, you've been inspiring people already.
Enfield is listening to Raminda loud and proud.
Yeah.
That's what that is. That's brilliant. That was brilliant. Yeah, man. I was looking at it. I was like, what the hell is this? This guy's
Yeah.
like trying to walk the floor, pick up clients. He's got his freaking mum's cooking apron on. Like, what the hell is going on here? It just is not a good look, man. How are you going to inspire someone to gain weight or this, that, and the other when you're just walking around with this crinkly ass apron on? Like, what the hell? So weird. So weird.
Yeah, okay. That's
Yeah, man.
interesting. I mean, like
Random.
apron, but I'm guessing face shield or face mask as well going on.
Yeah, it kind of looks like, like
Otherwise, it's a bit redundant.
I feel like it's like, I'm going to go off one of my comparisons here. What was it called?
I wanna hear
Monsters
it.
Inc. Monsters Inc. Yeah.
Okay.
when the
Every time this comparison comes out of the left field, man, it's like Home Alone. Like, where the fuck did that come from? But it was just amazing. You make it work. This is great.
this is my ridiculously stupid mind, like making like, oh guys, I got another one. Like,
Lateral thinking, man. Make it work. You're making it work.
see, it's coming. The guy that he goes into the kid's room and then he comes out of the door. He's scared the kid, and he has a sock stuck to his back, right? And then they just jump on him. All those guys in the yellow suits jump on him and they fucking shave him down, and then like they put the sock in the thing and they blow the sock up, and it's just like, oh my god, right? It's like that. It reminds me of like these PTs at gym floor, poor guys, right? They're working for they're working for the corporation, working for the man, and soon they're just gonna have to walk around with like full hazmat suits on, with like a fogging machine, being like, oh, we gotta get all the COVID out of this gym.
Yeah.
Sad.
Like our
So sad.
ET or something.
Yeah, man. Terrible. Yeah, poor guy. But
Yeah. There's
happy days.
at least they're taking the precautions seriously.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Taking it that far.
Yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, just like, is it needed? Do we need to go to this level of like flipping protection? Like, can we not just like keep some distance and then get people tested and whatnot? I don't know. Looked a bit bizarre.
Yeah, man, that's funny. I mean, there's because I've just got this visual of like, just basically the hospital style apron. But I'm just imagining is like they could get like a David Lloyd branded one or something like that going on. Just like everybody's getting their branded masks and stuff going on.
It was weird. It was reminding me like kind of one of those, those games you can create an avatar, and then you just like fuck around and you just put an apron on. It's like, it's like you play GTA and you're like, guys walking around with an apron on. It's like, why? Why is he doing that? I don't know. I just decided to put an apron in one day. Oh, I saw the apron shop and I decided to go in and buy an apron. I was like, that's exactly what it looked like. Because he had his top to toe Under Armour gear on, his David Lloyd t-shirt. He's in good shape, but he just got an apron on. I was like, what the hell is going on here? This is so random. This is so weird. Yeah.
That's great, man. That's great. I wonder...
Respect him for not kind of rocking the boat. I definitely would not be rocking the apron. I would just be like, sorry. Yeah, I would just pick up like, no, this is not my style. Can't do this.
Yeah. It's like it's the. That's great. Oh man. Oh well. What can I say? Is
Can't say nothing, man.
Like you said, look at it. Credit to the guy just rocking it and just doing his thing.
Doing his thing, helping out clients. So yeah, respect to the PT, respect to the trainer or PT, whatever it was. Yeah. Tell me, man, where's the origins of Hype Man Brown?
Hype Man Brown, bro, you brought it up last week. You're like, I know G's a hype man for his clients, and I was like, yes, I am. I am a hype man. He's like, I'm going to provide that encouragement and that energy just to make sure you keep moving forward. And just love that shit, man. It's fun to be a hype man as well.
Too right, man. Too right. I was you thought reminded me of a book that I started reading yesterday. We talked about James Nestor on the podcast a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
I got his book Breath, and I just opened it at a random page yesterday and I started reading. And It talks.
That's
I
cool.
don't know. I don't know what's happening. I was like, oh, I'm not right now. I'm not going to get invested in the book right now, but I want to just kind of get a
Right.
flavor of what he's talking about. And
Yeah.
I think he's going through some kind of training with. Is it called Tumo breathing? Tumo breathing.
Yep. Yeah.
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 So that's the page I opened up on 148, and some guys kind of run him through some breathing stuff, and the guy is being the most wicked hype man ever. Like the
Yeah.
phrases he's coming out with, I can imagine like a drill sergeant. Oh, obviously, I've not got the context of the actual of what's going on, but from what I can piece together, he's there like making him breathe and kind of pushing him through this exercise. And at one point, he goes, "Expression is the opposite of depression." And it's like, I
Yeah.
love that. Straight away, you're just like, that's a proper hype man line.
Yeah. Yeah.
Keep reading, keep reading. He goes, what does he say next? He goes, "You're not a passenger, you're the pilot." I love that as well. It's
Yeah.
just like, take control of your own damn ship. There's nobody else
That's
holding that
it.
stick apart from you, man. Let's go.
Yeah. Just shouting out all the lines, man.
Yeah, man. I love it. I love it. Hype man Brown, hype man in the James Nestor book.
Yeah. That's great. That's yeah, that's what it's about, man. It's like you just got to help people stay on the path somehow. And
Mm,
well, I think like the context of hype man as well is just there's more to it. It's not just that geezer who's just shouting out and just blasting out the trying to blast out positive energy. It's more than that as well. It's just that guidance as well when somebody feels like they've fallen down or fucked up or screwed up
mhm.
and or feel like guilty about some choices that they made or whatever. It's like, all right, well, let's figure this out. Let's work through it. Let's get you back on a bandwagon and just realizing that that's a lot of what it's about. And that's what the hype man does is just make sure matches meets you where you're at and takes you where you're not.
I love that. I love that. Oh, it reminds me of, that Instagram page, Niche. Is it called Niche? The black and white
Yes.
pictures that they post. Yeah,
Right.
there's
Yeah.
one
I
that
think
my
I
mate.
know it because you posted a few of
Yeah,
those things. I
yeah,
think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
it.
Yeah. The one that I repost recently was, I think Jude messaged me about this. Shout out Juju Kablam.
Yeah. Juju Blam.
She messaged me about this, the last one that I post, because I think it's a scene from The Shining. I think it's a scene from the
Yeah.
director talking to Jack Nicholson, and
Mm.
he's sat at the bar, and the caption
Yes.
underneath. I
That's where
think
I saw
it's
it. I saw you
Yeah,
post that. Yeah. It's
yeah, man.
nice.
I love that caption because basically, I think, I mean, I'm going to paraphrase now, but it talks about meeting somebody at the level of explanation and being like, okay, I can, like, if we take it to the context of being a PT, this is a squat, you bend down, you stand up, you're cool. But meeting them at a different level where you're like, this is a test. This is about to really call on more than just your knees and your ankles and your hips and your core stability, about like how
Mm.
much determination you got in you, how much can you cultivate, and can you find yourself right now. There's much more of a question there rather than making it so apparent. It's like you don't just lay everything out and let the person kind of read it for what it is. You kind of leave some of it to be cultivated by the person in front of you. Like, can you
Mm.
bring yourself to this in a different way? And in doing so, you've all of a sudden elevated this to being more than just a simple exercise. Now it's like
Mm.
it's a journey in so many different ways,
Mm.
right? It's bigger than what it was initially made out to be, and that's what the post kind of talks about. That's what you were talking about being a hype man. It's not just about screaming and shouting. There's way,
Mm.
way, way more finesse to it. If you actually
Mm.
know about the strings you can pull at to really make a human being kind of
Yeah.
come to life. You know what I mean?
That's it. Yeah, exactly, man. And like the other thing that it was basically alluding to was like you try to explain something to someone, rather it's the idea of telling someone versus helping them discover it themselves. And that's a really nice it's a really nice territory to be like traversing through because it's just too easy to just try and tell someone this is it, this is the way you need to do things, but it doesn't resonate, right? Because the person's not on that path of discovery in a way. And I had a really nice example of this with a client last week, which was getting to a stage where just thinking about the changes that they have to make, it got a bit overwhelming and was like I'm kind of exhausted with thinking about staying on top of my nutrition and trying to get my training in, and it's just getting a bit much. And then so it was like, okay, well, let's explore that, let's discover that, let's figure out what needs to be done so that you can still be moving forward but not feel like this is exhausting you anymore. And at the end of the day, I made the point also. First of all, it was like you're going to go through this. This is important that you're going through that because you're serial processing right now because you're doing a bunch of things which aren't normal to you, which aren't a part of your day to day routine to be able to think about this kind of stuff. But just like with you don't think about brushing your teeth in the morning, you just do it. A lot of these things that you're thinking about now eventually are going to become things like brushing your teeth in the morning. You're not going to be thinking about it, and you've just improved your baseline, and you're going to be able to operate that high at that higher level. But to help you see yourself through that right now, what needs to happen? And what needed to happen was just essentially just talking about it and probing and asking questions until they arrived at a solution themselves. And so I was asking questions. I was like, okay, so it sounds like you're struggling with this. Is that accurate? Yes. Okay, then it sounds like this is also something else that you're struggling with. So we boiled it down to 2 to 3 things that was part of the problem. And then I asked the question to them. I was like, okay, so given like your need for the current situation, as in living in the here and now, where if you made a here and now decision, it's going to negate the journey that you're on versus making a choice which is entirely for your journey to getting better in health and fitness, but you don't enjoy the moment. Let's find the balance there so that you can make a decision which you're happy with on balance for both of these things. So you want to do something for the here and now, but you also want to do something for your goals so that you feel good, that you still feel like you're moving forward. So what is it for you that you can do which is going to satiate both of those endeavors for you? He's like, okay, I think I can do this, this, and this. It's like, all right, great, let's do that, and then report back to me, see how it feels, and see how it works out. And yeah, that's basically what I picked up from also that picture and the quote, the caption that was underneath it. It was the caption was Stanley Kubrick, and it's just basically, instead of just telling, help them discover it for themselves, and that way there's a lot more autonomy attached to it as well. And that was, that was just, that tied in nicely. That was like a neat little example of how it worked out with a client this week, to basically help them discover it for themselves, that actually it's not all exhausting. This is actually useful, and you come out of it better on the other side based on how you decided to approach it, not just me telling you that you have to do it this way.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. And I think that's just on merit, the conversations you're having and the path you're laying out is so much more multifaceted in its nature. So then, as a consequence, the problems that are going to stem from that, or the obstacles that are going to arise from that, are all going to be in the same vein. They're all going to be swinging at random places, and you're not going to realize this because you didn't actually think that you were setting out on this path in the first place. And this is potentially why, like, people have this apprehension with PT, especially at this level of like healthcare in a way, is they don't think of it in this regard. They almost think of it as like, I'm going to lift some weights and I'm going to eat better and I'll be fine. It's like, well, if you think of it in such a linear way, it's like that linear way that we know about weight training. Like, you can get linearly strong for a few weeks, but then it starts to run into a blockade, and you got to start changing things around. You can't just expect continual progression in one direction because we're not like that. I mean, we don't kind of operate like that. I think this is what your client maybe kind of came across. It was just like, oh, well, I'm at an impasse here. But high level skill coach that you are, you kind of just easily pivoting around it and being like, let's work this out. You know what I mean? Because this is going to always happen. We can't just pack up our bags and go home every time it doesn't go our way. We just got to figure out we've got to upskill the thing that we didn't know we had to upskill. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to segue this into Felix, right? So Felix's mom told me last week, she was like,
Felix is your young client, yeah?
Yeah. So 13-year-old Felix, playing football, doing really, really well, like smashing the game. And he's coming across obstacles that he didn't realize he would have had to come across, or he didn't realize he would have to deal with within the setting of playing football. And now it's a case of he's not only having to kick a ball up and down the field and do his offensive duties, his midfield duties, and when it's called in time, his defensive duties, but he's having to deal with like people's intentions, like kind of strange energies, right? And that is a whole nother game. There's a subtext to this kicking a ball or football around a pitch thing that no one really tells you about. You know what I mean? And this is where at 13 years old, he's approaching this, and he's having a reaction. He's having a initial reaction that anybody would have, which is a one of confusion and one of like almost, why is this kind of part of it? You know what I mean? No, I didn't sign up for this. I wanted to just play the game, and I'm here for the love of the game. But
Right.
on the other end, it's oh well, you have to also deal with this other stuff along the way, and that's kind of in some ways the price you pay for what you want in the end. Like it's not disclosed. It's not there in the fine print that you'll also have to deal with this stuff. But that's just life, right?
Yeah.
It just kind of crops up. So it's a case of him not only being aware of how he can kick a football, but also being aware of how he reacts in certain moments when he's challenged in other ways, and that's helping him in this multifaceted approach grow not only as a football player but as a human being. You know what I mean? Then it's a case of, oh, I have this self-awareness that I can go and then use in multiple areas of my life, rather than just the football pitch. This 90 minutes is finite. It's here and now. We can run on the scoreboard, but how do I turn that scoreboard into life and actually not have me be flummoxed or pulled off my game more than I need to be? You know what I mean? So it's really, really interesting how physical endeavors. We talked about this before we came on the podcast. Like physical endeavors, like the way you summed it up to me was really, really good. Was that they have a subtext of mental acuity, mental awareness that we're not always aware of at the start, but they have a funny way of rearing around and kind of coming full circle. So it was it was really interesting to see how all of this kind of stuff just slots in, man.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I always believe like if you really want to find out about yourself, do something physical. It's the quickest way, because you're gonna straight away, like if you're out of shape, the moment you start doing something, you're gonna find out about yourself whether you've got the minerals, to see it through. And if you haven't, then are you developing the minerals to see it through? That it's I think it's the clearest, like it's a microcosm of life basically. It's the clearest way for you to learn, it's the clearest and the simplest way for you to learn life lessons is to do something physical. And like, all right, I'm saying that because I'm a little bit biased as well, in the sense that I find just doing something physical is, it's just life. You have to be able to use your hands, you have to be able to use your body, because like, okay, let's look at it from an evolutionary neurobiological point of view. The only reason your brain exists is to help you navigate you through your environment. That is it. It's just to help you move through your environment. And all this other nice shit that we have, like being able to learn a language or use our thumbs to text, is just a nice little kind of add-on to what our brain is actually here for. So if you're not using your body, I mean, research has shown it, but I don't think it takes research to really understand that you're slowly dying and you're taking years off your life, and the quality of life isn't great if you're not moving. So do something physical for the sake of the quality of your life, but also to really find out about yourself and what you're made of and what you can do and what you can achieve. And all those other things that come with life, like Felix is learning. I think you can get a head start on dealing with that stuff because you're doing something physical, and you're meeting the challenge of yourself, and the stops that you put on yourself are greater than the stops that anybody else could put on you. It's like any walls that you hit through your physical challenges, well, it's only down to you to get through those walls, really. Like you can have one of me and you to coach someone through that, but at the end of the day, it's the work that's done by the individual that is going to get them through that wall. And I find, like, circling back to your point about learning things which you never really thought are associated with doing the job, but then you end up learning them. I think one of the biggest things I learned in recent years is just the mindset, essentially, and how that affects your results that you get in your physical endeavors. So it circles back to that, because if you work on the stops that you put on yourself, if you work on the limits that you put on yourself and you break through them, it doesn't matter what the fuck anybody else says or does to you, because you know that you have the capacity to get through something which you did, which you put on yourself, which you sometimes you don't even realize that you put it on yourself, right? And but when you get there, you're like, oh shit, here's a problem, or here's an obstacle. If I break through this, then I don't care what anybody else says or does to me. Um, I don't have I don't have that limitation.
So true, man. So true. It's so really interesting. You've kind of sparked a whole myriad of questions, right?
Yes,
Experiences.
bring it, brother. This is the stuff that excites me. Bring it.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. So yesterday we were having dinner with family, and lovely, lovely time. Like first off, shout out to my mom, man. My mom's a soldier. Legit, legit. Like
Shout out to shout out to Mama
Mama
Malik.
Malik. There we go, Mama
Yeah,
Malik. She's yeah, she's an impressive. She's an impressive person, man. And
yeah.
yeah. I haven't kind of waxed lyrical about my mom in a few podcasts. So I think it's about time. It's about time
It's
we just
time.
show them some love. Yeah,
Hell yeah.
put together a feast and just fed the family really really well and
Mm,
all of the above. Just thankful always. And yeah, we just sat down talking about this kind of stuff afterwards, and it links in exactly to what you're talking about right now.
right.
Physical endeavors and what the consequences of going through hard shit physically have on the brain and have
Mm,
on how you view yourself. So before you go through a physical endeavor, there's always this apprehension. Like the one I'll use is on my current program. There's a cardio day. There's 2 cardio days a week, and it's watt bike sprints. And watt bike sprints.
oh,
Anyone who's never, sorry, not watt bike sprints, wing airdyne sprints. Anyone
yeah,
who's
that's
never
worse.
done airdyne sprints, right? Yeah, that's worse, right? It is worse, but it's also, I think both are just disgusting, aren't they? Because your
Yeah, okay.
lactate is everywhere. Like it's
Yep.
friggin' just like Ghostbusters just busted it, just sprayed you with the ooze because it's just from top to toe lactate all over the place, right? It's horrible. And everything feels heavy. Everything you think. I swear I've got cramp in my hands from doing
Yeah.
my airdyne bike because I'm just squeezing the bike so hard, throwing
Oh
it
Lord.
my cheek. Legit, I get cramp here in my cheeks when I do it because I'm like grimacing so hard, and I'm
Yeah,
just
okay.
whacking this bike back and forth, and everything is just kind of
Cheek
like filling
domes.
up. Cheek domes. That's it. I've got a hypertrophy on these damn cheeks that finally fill out rather than being so concave. Um, and before I
Excellent.
do my air dyed sprints, there's only 2 programs currently right now. We're gonna slowly periodize it up, but I feel this nervous energy. I feel this like,
Mm.
when you kind of like, oh, the floor's kind of like shaking, and you're
Oh
almost like,
yeah.
I've got to bring everything right now. I've got to just let this bike just contain all of me. And it's 30
Yep.
seconds of hell, right? It's 30 seconds to just get hold of the bike and just go until the wheels come off, like literally, right? And I think that is such a liberating experience because once you're done, you're just
Yep.
like, I could die happy right now because I just gave
Yeah.
everything I had just got put into
Yes.
this bike. And until that phone bleeps and says 30 seconds is done, you don't stop fighting. You
Yep.
don't stop not. And we know what this is like because we both sparred with Sylvie, right? So it's like that,
Bro, I was
right?
just thinking exactly the same thing. I was literally, if you didn't bring it up, I was going to bring it up. I'll be like, it's like grappling. It's like Sylvia's grappling sessions.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
when you've been through that,
yeah.
there is nothing that anybody can do to you after that.
Yeah.
It's
I love
just,
it.
I
I
was
love
like,
it.
what? Look, it's like, he's could point a gun to my head. It's like, yeah, but you ain't grappled with Sylvia, man. So I don't care. I don't care.
You're right, man. This will be quick. That's not quick.
Yeah,
This will be shit. It's multifaceted fuckery. That's
exactly.
what that is. It's just all over you, and
Yeah,
it's just rough. Is the word
yeah,
rough? But yeah. Back to the point of like physical endeavors. That stuff changes you, man. That stuff like
yes,
physically, it's and in the context of what we were talking about with it yesterday was I don't know the clinical side of conditions such as like ADHD and anxiety and stress disorders like these are, right? But I do know the physical benefits, and I have lots of experience with the physical benefits of the other side of things, which is self-expression. Like the phrase I said earlier, like expression is the opposite of depression, right? So like you can sit there and kind of feel like it's all going away from you, but you go and express yourself entirely on this bike, and all of a sudden you feel much more capable. Like you've like generated like you said, capacity, right?
Mm.
You now have this capacity. We talk about like kind of it now being a valuable commodity. You can go and trade in other areas of your life, right? Like I just kind of have these gold coins. I'm going to flick a few toward this effort and flick a few towards that effort, and all of a sudden I've read more books or I've got up earlier in the morning. That's what you're cultivating there and then. Right? And I really feel like the argument that was not the argument, but the discussion that was being had was like somebody who's clinically been diagnosed with this kind of thing. I don't think I'll ever believe in them. I don't think I'll ever have the. I don't want to disrespect these things, but I don't want to give them any basis in my reality yet, because I feel like this over here is so much more a valuable endeavor rather than going to somebody and being diagnosed with an ailment. And then where do you go with that? Like, what do you do with that? Do you not just go back to here and make an effort and then find that you're actually stronger than you thought you were and then go friggin' do the thing anyway? Isn't this just a long way around of having somebody in a lab coat kind of diagnose you with something? But what does that mean? Like, kind of there is this establishment of health, yes, and it does wonderful things, but I think there's a bit of a question mark I have around mental health in that sense. And again, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I don't know what people are going through, but at the same time, I feel like if there's, maybe this is oversimplification, if there's a way of putting you in a scenario where you have to block everything else out and you have to just empty your tank for one thing on one moment here, that it can change a lot, in my opinion. That's my experience anyway.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that as well. And like, obviously, it is nuanced as well, because you got people who are clinically depressed who just can't get out of bed, right? So there's an approach that you have to be able to take to first just to be able to get them out of bed. But there's a lot to be said for milder conditions at least. And but in any case, whoever has the capacity, regardless of your mental state, whoever can get themselves to do something physical, if you just do it, yeah, like you said, man, you will experience all those benefits. And it's not just because it's doing something physical. It's because of the link between brain and body as well. It has a massive impact on that kind of thing. It's like, I mean, when you mentioned like ADHD and anxiety and stuff, is like, well, I've met people who use physical training to help manage their anxiety, and they get wonderful result from being able to do that. And in terms of, yeah, like ADHD is like, one of the ways of handling that is like, it's in young kids, is basically just get them to run around a lot more, and they actually feel better for it, and they're a lot more manageable when it comes to being in the classroom. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for it. And yeah, just being physical, using your body changes your mind.
I totally agree. This is segueing off into something else. So I listened to this podcast with Jordan Shallow, Killian Hamilton this week, RX Radio, the most recent episode. I think it was 190 something. And there was a really interesting point in there which links into Silvio and his training, and something that I raised with TJ a little while ago, which was they were talking about how in a physical endeavor, say you're playing a sport, you have to perform when you're in the fourth quarter of a basketball game and you're totally shattered. That's when you have to find your peak performance, because that's where everyone else is starting to dip. That's where you need to almost train yourself to rise up, especially if you're a certain position, if you're a certain task master in the game. Say you're a defensive player, you need to be super strong in that fourth, because this is where people are going to be really driving all their effort, and you're able to post up, you're able to defend well, you're able to get the loose ball. That's where you have to come out of your shell and be performing the most, right? So the link back is like, I remember how Sylvia used to train us, in the sense that do not miss the warm-up, because you want to be tired for the technique work. So you technically practice slower, you technically practice without aggression, without too much speed, without too much like anxiety in your body, or too much like anxious energy in your body, because you've just got it out, because you've just done 400 burpees, right? It's like, it's all gone. It's all there's my anxiety. It's a pool of sweat on the mat there, you know what I mean? That's what was it. It came out of me, you know what I mean? It's like rigging out of me right now, currently still dripping while he's explaining the technique. Collar tie here, strip the arm, like, you're just like, anxiety just like washing out of my body right now. It's cool. But then you get to the technique work, and you're so free of all these like chains that had you before that were kind of keeping you bound,
Mm.
that you can do nothing but kind of be present because you got nowhere else to be. Session is just halfway through, just about getting started. You know what I mean? We're 15 minutes in,
Yeah.
but we're all battered. And it's such a great forum in which to get somebody to be out of their mind, I think,
Mm.
rather than kind of be so preoccupied with these thoughts that remind me of the distinction. Like sometimes living in the past is depression, living in the pre is anxiety, right? Is that is defined? You get that, G?
Oh, yeah,
I
yeah,
missed
say
that.
that bit again.
So, what was is it living in the past is defined as depression, living in living in the future is defined as anxiety, or like something loosely like in that term, right?
Oh, I don't know. I think yeah, I
Okay,
wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. It's
okay,
like
okay. Yeah,
if it's like broadly suggesting that being depressed is essentially not getting to grips with current times. I don't know. I think
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I
So
don't know what that is. Yeah.
that's the connection. Like kind of if you're living kind of too far in the future, you're living for something that hasn't actually happened yet. So you're being
Mm,
anxious for something that you can't actually control because you're
sure.
not here and now in the present doing things you can
Mm,
control. And living in the past is kind of being depressed about things that have happened to you. So
right.
you're
Yeah.
unable to kind of conduct yourself in the here and now in the present, so to ensure that your future can be different to what happened in the past, right?
Mm, right.
And in
Got you.
that setting where you're physically so exhausted and so it's like a call to action right there, right now. You've got to get all of this to be right here,
Mm,
otherwise you can't really perform well. And in doing that, it's like you're switching all of the neurons that are there, creating these old pathways off that job, and you're calling all the workers and be like, we've got a new project. We've got to get this airline bike to all the watts. Otherwise, we can't be happy getting off this bike in 30 seconds. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Bring everyone. We need the whole brigade. You know what I mean? Otherwise, this is not going to get done properly. And then
Yeah.
the more you do that, the more you rewire those pathways of being right here, right now. And that's why that becomes such a valuable thing for us to partake in, to break these kind of cycles. In
Hmm.
my experience, I think that's so key.
Yeah. Completely, man. Yeah. Fully agree with that. Where you do the physical thing,
Mm.
and there is that cascade of like neurochemicals and neuromodulators that start getting kicked off in your brain, which allow you to be happy. It's just simple as that. You just accept your current situation um, and you're kind of happy. And I think everything that you described there, in terms of getting exhausted by being physical, so that you can just let your mind go, just get out of your head. I think that's sound advice as well. Is like anytime anytime like so if there's a period of time where I'm not being physical, for whatever reason, there's a kind of angst that builds up because I haven't been physical, and it's not because of my attachment to exercise or anything like that. It's because my body just needs to move,
Mm.
and it's not because I'm worried that I'm going to lose my gains. It's not because I'm worried that I'm not going to be fit if I wake up tomorrow and I haven't trained today. It's just because my body just needs to move. So it happened the other day, and I just like went out for a slow run, and I was just smiling to myself while I was running. I was like, I feel pretty good,
Yeah.
because my body is satisfying my mind that way. And then at the end of it is just, okay, I've done this thing, and it opens up my mind. It gives me the space to actually focus on other things as well, to be present with, because I was visiting my parents for a few days, so be present with them because I've taken care of this one thing. It's not in the back of my mind all the time to appease that feeling that I've got, which is just like a little bit of angst that I haven't trained or done something. And again, because it's something that's physical, which is good for my body, good for my brain, it just needs that movement. And
Mm-hmm.
if I haven't appeased it, I can't be present, and I'm going to be a little bit more irritable. Whereas if I have appeased it, I can be present. I can be there, and I can do the things that I need to do and do them well without having to think that I haven't expended this latent energy, which needs expending. So yeah, doing something physical to get out your mind, get out your head, is massive.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I totally agree, man. Totally. I almost feel like kind of made the connection while you were talking there about like what we used to be in regards to like caveman kind of times. Like if
Mm.
we're there having to having to get ourselves to this part of land, or we're having to hunt to kill or whatever just to survive. It's that energy that we're kind of feel like we're keeping inside us right now. And now today's
Yeah.
day and age, you don't have to do any of those things.
Yeah.
You can just be. You know what I mean? But we're not actually being. We're not human beings anymore. We're just like
Yeah.
human doings or some bullshit, right?
Human done.
Human done. Yeah, yeah, man. Human done. What a sad story that is, eh?
Yeah.
So,
We ain't
Sylvia,
human beings. We're human done.
human done. Microwave just went ping, and your ass is
Yeah.
done. Like, that's basic. Like
Yeah.
Sylvia said it best to me once. I'll never forget this as long as I live.
Yeah.
He goes, that expression. He goes, most people are alive. Sorry, no, most people are dead, but they're just not buried yet.
Yeah.
And that is so true, man. Jesus, you see people, you're just a corpse, man. You're just a corpse.
Yeah.
Like you're not even able to do anything.
Yeah.
And like this. Oh, I don't want to sound like a downer, right? But like, it's come on, man, come on. There's much more that we should be scratching this episode, much more than what we're scratching this episode right now.
Yep.
It's not on, man.
Is exactly. Is just imagine everybody on an endeavor to fulfill their potential. You know, what does that look like for not just for the individual, but for the people around them, and then not just the people around them, the society around them, and then not just society, just like civilization in general. He's like, yeah, I think we'll just accelerate our capacity to move forward, you know, or just to live well. Forget about moving forward, just to live well.
I totally agree. We don't even know what that's like. That's the exciting thing, is that we can. There's almost like there's a few outliers that push the boat, and obviously we can always list people who have gone into technology or different industries or whatever, and they've done so many amazing things. But why can't it be more widespread? You know, why can't it be more widespread on a personal level? And obviously, there's so many things I'm opening a can of worms to here. But at the same time, this is if this podcast is going to do anything, it's going to hopefully give people more of a roadmap toward figuring out their own issues and their own kind of shackles, so that they can control that shit and actually point their effort gun towards blasting through the things they need to blast through, and then slowly start kind of cultivating that potential, like you talked about. You know what I mean? It's not enough. It's not enough to just kind of, you know, just be done. You know what I mean? Like you said, great way of putting it, man. Human microwaves.
Yeah, we're in the microwave. We're just getting cooked, man. Like,
Sad times, man. Sad times.
yeah, exactly. Getting overcooked as well. There's a few little explosions going on in there.
Yeah, man. You see that. It's like, oh shit. We need to change the settings on this shit, man. Get us out of here. Get us out of here.
Yeah, completely.
But no, man. It's interesting. Go on.
No, I think what I was going to say to that was, oh man, I forgot what I was going to say to that. Human beings, human done. Going into.
It's out.
Oh man, yeah. Just there were a few things that were floating around at the same time there, but it just got done. Oh, like getting aiming for your potential as well. Oh, so a lot of it I think is that was it. I think a lot of it is there's just so many distractions as well, where I mean this is the interesting thing as well is the okay, there's a whole stream of consciousness just about to pour out of me. I was like, shit. Do I even begin this? Just
it's
because, yeah, exactly. Whatever it is,
make that real simple. Yes.
Yeah, man. Oh, like so. Okay, so I'm looking at. So one of the things I've been thinking about was like marketing, right? So you get all this like advice around marketing, which is, you know, people's attention spans used to be 14 seconds, and now it was 7 seconds. Now it's like 3 seconds or something. It's less than a goldfish, and it's just this perpetual cycle of trying to be able to capture people's attention because in the shortest amount of time, because that is what is we found is the amount of time that people are paying attention in. But then the more we do that, the less that people start to pay attention, right? So it's just keeps perpetuating down this path of we've got a short attention span. Okay, let's make people let's try and capture people's attention in that short attention span. But then if it doesn't happen in that short attention span, like people's attention spans just get shorter and shorter and shorter. So to the point where, and the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's super relevant. Because at the end of the day, most of what we do, most of the time we spend during the day, at any like over the course of a day, is actually on a phone or on a device. You know, is like a lot of um, a lot of stuff that I've read and or research around it is suggesting that people will tap on their phone at least 85 times a day. They'll just like press a button on their phone, like because you get these apps which tell you how often you're looking at your phone. So in an effort to stop looking at your phone so much, and so you might just press the on screen like 85 times a day, like at least, and then you're on your phone about 4 hours a day. Or on a device like that for 4 hours a day. That's a lot of fucking time, and then a lot of that time is spent like scrolling through social media and stuff like that.
Mm.
So what that's doing is creating a short attention span because we're distracted by the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then we're also trying to tap into people's desires by giving them something which taps into that short attention span. But then by doing that, the attention span is getting shorter and shorter and shorter and shorter. So that means you're more and more and more and more and more distracted. And so you're more and more and more distracted. And I can say this from personal experience, and it's not just personal, and it will be speaking from personal experience, but the neuropsychology of it is there and is getting developed to suggest that this won't just be my experience of it as well. So what's happening is I've noticed that if I'm spending too much time on social media, and I'm scrolling, and it could be up to 20 minutes. And then after that 20 minutes, I can feel the distraction. I can feel the frazzledness. I can feel the fragmentation in my quality of thought. And actually, my quality of thought just isn't really there because my ability to reorganize myself so that I can do the things that I need to pay attention to take me longer to reorganize myself into that mode of thinking. And that's a lot of time that gets wasted and a lot of time that gets burnt away. Basically, you just don't get that back. And because of that constant distraction, I'm not really focusing on the actions that I need to take, which are going to help move me forward, which I'm also going to feel like basically when I get to the end of the day, I can say, you know what, I've had a good day because I've achieved this, this, and this. And that leaves me feeling content, and it leaves me feeling pumped to take on the next day. But because of that distraction and because my mind ends up being fragmented all over the place, I can't do that. Now, I've done the so-called dopamine fasting, right? Like at least for an extended period where it's like, okay, I'm definitely not going to look at my phone before like 11 a.m. And I'm not going to look at it like 2 hours before bedtime. And in between, there's going to be a very set amount of time that I look at it. And one of the things I took away from that also was to just literally lock my phone away. Not even lock it away, just put it in the drawer so I can't see it. Out of sight, out of mind. And every time I've done that, the clarity that I gain is crazy. It literally feels like there's something that's lifting out of my brain. It feels like a fog has lifted out of my brain. And I can think and feel more clearly as well. Instead of feeling agitated because I'm distracted, I feel calm because, hey, I'm focused. I have the ability to focus better. That's basically it. And what people don't understand also is that you're not just born able to focus or pay attention in a certain kind of way. You can train that. You can literally train it by how, just like anything else, like doing reps in the gym. Doing more reps in the gym as you get stronger and stronger makes you stronger and stronger. Spending more time paying attention to the thing that you need to work on gets you being able to pay more and more attention as you go along. And the strain and the confusion that you feel by doing that is actually a good thing because that's telling you that you're achieving something, in the same way that it feels difficult in the gym to lift that heavy weight is a good thing because you're creating hormesis, and you're going to, which is essentially a stress on the body, which is going to create adaptation. And it's the same thing here as well. So the reason why I bring it up is because I was talking about distraction, and when you're distracted, you can't focus on the thing that you need to do, which is going to help you achieve the thing you want to achieve, even if it's a physical endeavor. It's not just about the mental aspect, because as we've talked about earlier, and then Raminder's podcast last week was a really good example of how holistic the whole approach is, and what you do for yourself in one domain affects other domains. Like if you do something physical, then it can affect your quality of sleep, or if you do something nutritional, and that is going to make you last better in the gym. But if you're distracted all the time, you can't think of how to optimize nutrition because you're just not there, and we know also by using your phone for that extended period of time, or using social media like that, is especially in the build up to going to sleep, it disrupts your sleep as well. We know that's for a fact now as well. So it's important to realize where your distractions are and realign yourself with the actions that you need to take on a day-to-day basis so that you can stay focused and remove those distractions. And it's a case of managing those distractions, really, because at the end of the day, all this stuff is hooked up, or is set up in a way to make us stay distracted. And we actually have to exercise some sort of willpower, which is a tough thing to do, to keep ourselves away from it. But again, just like with the stuff that we talk about, at first it's a lot of serial processing going on, because a lot of habits end up being reflexive, and looking at your phone is a reflexive thing. But you can hijack that by becoming conscious, build that awareness, and when you become aware, you're like, actually, was that a useful habit? Yes or no? If the answer is no, it's like, okay, well, I need to do something about that. I need to arrest the trigger for this habit and then try and boot it out. And this stuff is just designed to hook us onto it, so we have to just do our best to manage it. And when we do, you actually realize that other aspects of your life, you feel like you gain time, basically. You literally feel like you kind of it's not even time traveling, it's like you're able to freeze time because you've gained so much more of it, and you're just like, holy shit, I didn't realize that I could focus this much. I didn't realize I could pay this much attention. I didn't realize that if I had that kind of clarity of thought, which was being taken away from me by all the distractions that I have, that I could achieve this much. And that's super important, even for a physical endeavor, let alone just life.
Bam. That was that stream of consciousness, yeah.
Yeah, pow pow.
Good man.
It's just
Good man.
just coming out. When you said distraction, I was like, yes, this just kicked in my brain. I don't know how long I went on for, but I hope it was useful.
Yeah, man. That was legit. That was a privilege to listen to, man. First ears to hear that. That was good. That was really good, man.
Appreciate
really good.
it.
Yeah, I completely agree, man. Completely agree. So many trigger points I can kind of cycle back to. I need to start doing what you do, which is write things down when we have the podcast. It definitely will help. But a few random things, like yesterday I talked to my brother-in-law, and he won't mind me saying this, like, he's definitely somebody who we're having a conversation, and he's talking to me, but he's looking over here, and he's like trying, yes, I got this, I got that, and what were you saying about this? It's like, well, you weren't really listening, right? You weren't actually properly engrossed in the moment. And that, again,
we're doing
like,
the white men can't jump thing again. You're hearing it, but you're not listening. You're listening, but you're not hearing it.
I love it, man. I love it. That's it. Exactly that, man. And it happened yesterday. Like so, like not karma, but what's the word? Just I'm still lost the word now. You've taken all my damn words, G.
God damn it, man! I'm sorry.
You say it like.
Could you imagine? There's a quota for words. It's like I'm taking them all. I'm sorry, man. That's it. That's the end.
You can head this one. You can head this one. Here,
yeah, exactly. I'll just feed it back to you.
Yeah, like karma. Let's go with karma, right? So like, he's talking about how he's listening, and then 2 minutes later, he's like, "Oh well, what did you say?" It's like, well, okay, right. Well, let's rewind this. Firstly, apologize, right? Because you lied when you said you were listening, right?
Apologize. I'm sorry. That reminds me. I have to interject. That reminds me of the South Park episode from back in the day where he's like, "Apologize." He's like, "All right, fine." And do you remember it? And then he has to pull down his pants and he has to kiss his ass, like physically actually kiss his ass.
I remember the kiss of the ass thing, yeah.
Yeah. And he's like, apologize.
Where see that? It's contagious. It's contagious. Your mind's gone all over the place now too.
Yeah.
Too many analogies. And then yours just goes to South Park though, eh?
It's just, well, I watched the pandemic special recently as well, and like when you said apologize, I was like, that rings a bell. There's something there in my head. Yeah, and it was exactly that. I was like, oh yeah, that was the episode where he has to apologize. That's
it.
Funny.
giving me ideas
Yeah.
now. Next time he doesn't listen, I know what I'm gonna do. I'm like,
Yeah,
sure,
exactly.
you watch out.
Things are taking a twist in the Malik household, and it's his
I said like,
own damn fault. It's his own
yeah,
fault
so you're
because he
right.
didn't pay attention.
I told you. Pro wrestling kind of did that thing as well. Vince McMahon used to do a thing with just the Kiss My Ass Club. Don't know if you remember that.
Yeah,
That was legit. That was legit a thing. Like shoot it on SmackDown to watch Vince McMahon get his bare ass kissed on television. Like what are
oh
we
damn,
watching? Yeah, legit. One
man,
of
the
those
guys
times.
who had to do that, their careers, man.
Flipping heck.
Oh,
I remember William Regal doing it. Remember William Regal,
yeah,
the
yeah,
British guy?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sad times, man. Sad times. Anyway, he's he's in the conversation, but he's never really fully in the conversation. And I almost wanna, and the argument that was getting raised for him was that he's like his mind is crazy sharp, and he's crazy clever, and he is crazy clever. Like to his credit, he has a standing in his field which only 3 other people in the world have, which is
Whoa.
nuts to think. Like he's a subject matter expert in his actual field. It's a SME is a title, and I think he's a double level SME. So he's like he has the keys to the
This sounds
matrix
fully like Lord of
and
the
all that.
Rings style,
Yeah,
man.
man, like
I
legit.
don't even watch Lord of the Rings, but if I did, I'm pretty sure there's something like that would be in there.
Just has a cloak and he just walks around with like a
Yeah,
special lightsaber. That's what that guy is.
yeah.
But he can do some damage. Give him a keyboard. Like he knows his way around that, right?
Respect.
But it's still a case in point that if I give you a barbell in your hands and I ask you a mental math question, neither of those things are going to get done well. Like I don't care who you are, it's just not happening properly, right? So it's a case of
Yeah,
like you
man.
talk about limiting distractions, but firstly being aware of those distractions enough to limit them. And I brought up the point about the wolf story with the grandson and the granddad talking about the wolves and saying about the 2 wolves that exist in every person, and how you have anger, and you have aggression, and you have lack of self-control, and you have anxiety, and you have all oppression, and all these kind of low frequency things that exist within us. But then you also have like goodness and happiness, and you have hope, and you have all these like lack of ego, and all these things that exist within us. Two dualities. And the grandson asked the granddad, like, which one wins? So it's the one that you feed. Right, I brought up
Yeah.
that story, and I love that so much, and it clicked with him. And I was like, you
Nice.
only stop feeding the wrong wolf when you become aware that you are feeding the wrong wolf. So it's literally it's a case of me telling you, and it doesn't matter that you're a grown person. It's like we're all in this together, right? So if I'm going to bring to your attention that you didn't actually listen to me just now, that's cool. That's not a knock. That's just me trying to help you not feed the wrong wolf, not wire that same pattern in your brain where you think it's okay because you are a smart guy to keep relying on those smarts when there's more under the surface that you've never actually scratched, because 100% of you has never been devoted toward one thing at one given time. Like that's so powerful. And I think raising his awareness toward it yesterday was almost like a bit of an epiphany moment.
Yes,
And
sick.
I'm kind of excited to see where he goes with that now, because there's a few things that we kind of like outline for each other. It's like, oh, you do this and I'll do this. Okay, cool, right? So let's get on it. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's always awareness, man. 100%. I love kind of going back to that same model that we talked about on this podcast before, that awareness, alignment, and action. Like just simply put, like find where you are on that spectrum, find where you're not, and just go and fill in the blank.
Yeah, man. I love that. Ever since you brought it up as well, that just resonated with me so hard, and it just helped succinctly put it into clients as well, which is you got to become aware, then you got to be in alignment, and then you got to create action. It was big, man. And what were your takeaways? So like his thing was, like, okay, I need to pay a little bit more attention.
Mine
And
was
when you
definitely
yeah,
so yeah. Mine was definitely how I relay a message to somebody can't be the same to every single person. And what I
okay,
mean by that
interesting.
was, I'm almost looking at this as a black and white thing, and I'm almost coming at this is we kind of went into psychology of ourselves as well yesterday, in the sense that when I had to overcome a lot of the things that I have to overcome with myself, it's a case of just stop thinking too much and just do this and keep doing this, and you'll be fine. Like almost ignore what's kind of gone before. Don't get distracted by the past, like you're talking about. Don't kind of live in the past too much. Realize that here, right now, this job needs getting done. So just focus on it do it with your best of your ability, be as present as you can be, and move forward. And you'll find that as a result of doing this and doing the next thing, all of a sudden, ooh, we're in a brand new place and we're much happier being there. That is the way that I approach my own tasks right now. Like after this podcast, and I've got 2 phone calls to make, and I've got client stuff to plan for the week, and I've got food to prep for tomorrow. It's a case of just ticking boxes and moving along. But what he brought to my attention with him was that not everyone will work that way. Not everyone will have that approach, because he feels like it was almost too much too soon, where he's at a place where he almost wants to talk about how he was, how he has gotten to where he is right now. And he almost wants to just express that and talk his way through it and talk himself through it. And that helps him get to a new place, rather than being told to kind of ignore where you've kind of come from and set a new course right now, because we have a heading and we'd like to get there before the sun goes down. You know what I mean? Like kind of that's the way I kind of operate. Whereas with him, it's he prefers to be kind of brought into the process more, talked to about it slowly, and then kind of slowly set course, which I don't know what that speaks to about us two as different individuals, but it was a case that he was trying to help me with, okay, you have all the right intentions. However, sometimes accessing people is just a different format for the different person. So be aware of that. In terms of him, he didn't work to kind of just say to him, right, just shut the lights down, turn the factory off, we're going to turn it back on again, Control Alt Delete, we're going to do that, and we're just going to try and reboot the system, right? He almost wanted to be like a bit more of a maybe a slower process, maybe a process where we don't just make it so cut and dry. That's kind of probably the robot in me that just thinks, okay, right, well, if it's happened, it's done, it's in the past, we're right here, right now. Let's just think about the forward, and that's it. So yeah, maybe a different tact in approach could get me further with certain people.
Right. Okay. Interesting, man. Yeah, it's nice. That's a nice conversation to have.
It's definitely kind of come full circle for sure.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I think that's really interesting as well, because it just makes me think about the merits versus the costs of doing that kind of thing. The merit, yeah. I mean, just on the face of it, obviously, I don't know who he is, his journey, or anything like that. I think it's obviously there's value in doing that because you understand a lot more about yourself as well. But being somebody who's like that as well is like, I like to understand where things originate from. The thing about life is it's so complicated, and you've had literally thousands of days alive, and within those thousands of days you had moments which define you. It's very difficult to figure out why you are the way you are, and you can hypothesize about it, and I think you can get pretty close to an answer. But if you're using that as something to be like, I need to know this so I can move on, is like, you're never going to move on, because you're never really going to figure it out. What you need to do is get as close enough, get approximately there, and then just be like, all right, I need now put into place the things I need to put into place to be how I want to be, to become the way I want to become, because it's so easy to get bogged down. So it gets to a point where I think it's super useful to do, because it helps you literally, it's like not even compartmentalizing. It's not like you're separating out these parts of your life, but you're understanding yourself, you're starting to know yourself a lot better. And that's crucial, and it's a vital thing to do. So it helps you understand a bunch of stuff, but there's a point where it stops being effective, I think. And you have to take your approach, which is, okay, I've done this now. If I keep doing this, I'm not actually moving any further or any closer to where I think I want to be, because I'm just doing this, trying to understand myself through looking at my past. But it's like, there's a point where it's enough. You like 80-20 principle kind of thing. Yeah. And then you got to be like, all right, well, what are the things that are going to help me be where I am? And just start making those choices. And there's a really nice way of putting it, which I heard from someone, which was, I'm going to try and not butcher it, but if I do, I'll just take it as a paraphrasing, is like, sometimes we want to heal before we move forward, but by moving forward is how we heal.
Big.
Yeah, it
Big.
is.
That's
It's
so true,
huge.
man.
Yeah, man. And then that was something that hit home to me because I was just real at that point. I realized, oh, I'm spending way too much trying to figure out some shit that is, in the grand scheme of thing, is actually not going to help me move forward because I know the thing I need to do to just move forward.
Hmm.
And so yeah,
That's it. I
that
love that,
helps.
man.
And then yeah, and then you realize like that thing, whatever it is, you are less defined by your past because of the fact that you're moving forward. So it's this very kind of like dynamic thing where you as a human being, you don't have to be attached to everything or anything that's happened to you. You just are. You just is,
It just
and
is.
that's it. And you just act in the way that you believe is right and truthful for you, and then that's always going to evolve as you go along anyway. So you just that's just what you got to do, I think.
Hmm. I was excited to kind of raise this with you at in some way. We never know how we're going to get there, but it just kind of
Yeah,
organically happens at our podcast. So, and
nice.
that's a very, very good approximation of how I feel this would help him. So yeah, I'll definitely send this his way because it's really interesting because he's got his own version of life which is completely unique to him,
Right.
and yeah, that's you can almost like you said just take it as read. The stuff that's happened before, it's happened, right? But if it's so much, like it comes down to like, do we actually have the time to stop and excavate it to that point where that kid's going crazy?
Oh, you can't hear it. Fucking
Yeah,
hell.
yeah.
I was gonna ask you at one point. Actually, I was like, I hope you can't hear it.
Just go over and just drop kick that kid. But hey,
Yeah.
pipe down.
Yeah. Pipe down, or there's gonna be a rain of drop kicks on you, boy. I think it's a girl actually. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just the neighbors. They got the. I'm on the first floor, right? So the neighbors they have the garden, so their little kid just roams around
Oh,
every now and then
nice.
and just makes an inordinate amount of noise. You let kids off with certain amounts of noise, but sometimes it's just like, what are you doing? Why are you screaming all the time?
Imagine you on his balcony with his tennis racket, just in the morning.
Yeah,
Shut up, man! Get out of here.
exactly. Actually, my tennis racket's right behind me in there.
There you go.
And I've only got
I'm
one ball left because I've been smashing. No, I'm kidding. I haven't been smashing no kids, man.
just walking around like this. Oh man.
I do,
Anyway,
yeah,
segue is that
yeah,
Evolve Achieve Thrive.
yeah, yeah. Don't beat
But
your kids, people.
brought to you by the neighbor kids. Yeah, yeah, man. I totally agree. It's almost like he can spend time now looking back, but what's that opportunity going to cost? What does that opportunity cost him in the here and now? Like, does the life actually afford you that time? No, because it's constantly moving forward, right? That's. I almost said to him yesterday. I was like, if I was in your situation, I would literally take a bank loan out and I would just sit on it for a few months, and I would just say, this is going to pay my way, and I'm going to do no work, and I'm going to figure myself out. Like that's the levels. If you want to take it to that level, like my dad almost
Right.
did that. My dad legit moved to the other part of the world because he wanted to just be almost in isolation. He wanted to just chill on his own, and I respect that. He's nearly 60 years old, wanting to just go and like retire, but do it in a way that he's just kind of in his own thoughts and in his own presence all of the time. And it's a weird place to be because you can see the parts of him that require someone to bounce off ideas. This is why this is such a valuable thing for me, because I'm not just here with the ideas circulating in my own mind. They're out and they're getting renewed and washed, kind of handed back to me with your own experience behind them. And I love that. I love that about conversing in this sense. But where the way he was almost coming at it yesterday was almost like, I have to figure this out first, and then I can move forward. But the way you just so succinctly put it was just like, no, you move forward, and you can almost look back on your life and be like, oh, okay, yeah, well, that was the way I was. Me going back to it is not really any kind of, it's not going to give me any ability to move forward because I know what was. It's like what got me to being super overweight. I know exactly what it was. It was a calorie surplus, and it was not moving enough, and it was kind of focusing on the wrong things and kind of being overawed by situations where I could have helped deal with my stress levels a bit better. But
Shut up, baby.
it's not me going back to a certain extent. It's not going to move me forward anymore. But moving me forward will always inherently move me forward. I won't be here right now. You know what I mean? That's a lovely way of putting it, man. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I think kids got a lot to say about that as well.
Just bring him down, man. Let's do a three-way again. Let's go.
Exactly. So just like open the window. I'll be like, hey guys, do you want to get him on the podcast? Because it clearly sounds like she's got a lot to say.
Any levels are high on a Sunday. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. That's too funny. That's great. I was like, I felt like, Raminda last week didn't realize how loud the traffic was for her. We were like, what the hell is going on? Are you at like an airport or something? Are you on the runway? It's like, and then, like, where the hell are you? And then she was like, oh, I'm sorry. It's like the headphones. And I realized now as well, the headphones, I could hear the kid, but I was just thinking, I was just hoping it's not loud enough for this, but I guess it is. But hey,
Pick
man,
up a lot of noise.
yeah, exactly. Al natural, man. It's just, I hope your listeners appreciate that.
We'll roll with it. We'll roll with it. I'm over here in my back room, which literally has no people around it at all. So the chances of me making any background noise is pretty minimal.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, you're in the hustle and bustle of London, so
Yeah,
it's gonna
man,
happen.
exactly.
It's gonna happen.
That's it, man. But
man.
one day, man, studio. We'll
Yeah,
get
for
that
sure,
studio.
man. Dude, the first Evolve, Achieve, Thrive episode we have in person, man. I'm gonna just sit right next to you and just smile the whole time.
Yeah.
Touch your face.
It's like he's actually here.
Right.
He's a real being. He's not an apparition. He's not somebody who just like created out of the figment of my imagination just so I can have conversations.
It's gonna be, I swear, I'm gonna see you and I'm just gonna run across wherever we are, just freaking hug you, man. Like, oh man, I haven't seen you in so long.
Exactly. It would be like one of those videos that was going around like of toddlers because of COVID and like lockdowns and stuff. They hadn't seen each other for ages, right? And like these little toddler friends are like, "Oh my god, where have you been?" And they just run over to each other, just give each other like the sweetest hug.
Man.
Yeah, it'll be like that.
I have to telemise that shit. I have to telemise some dramatic music in the background, or just record it for one of the clips on our Instagram. Definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly.
Yeah,
we'll make a whole premiere out of the whole thing.
Too right, man. This is maybe segue into something else I asked yesterday when we were having dinner. I want to know your thoughts on this, like therapy, like taking a psychiatrist, taking sessions with a psychiatrist. Is that something that you would do, or you would advise, or what are your thoughts around that, G?
Yeah, man. I think there's value. Yeah, for sure, there's value in it. There's psychiatrist is different to a psychotherapist. I believe psychiatrist is the one who prescribes the drugs. Psychotherapist is the one that you're actually going to go see and talk to, I think. So
the distinction, sorry, just to clarify that, make it more kind of poignant, it was just somebody sit down, talk about your problems. Okay. No kind of intervention with Prozac or this or that or whatever. I'm trying to talk to a professional about me.
Yeah, for sure, man. There's a lot of value in that. I think, well, I know therapists as well. I know the value that they provide. And there's, what can I say? There's tons of value to it. It's just like what we were talking about earlier, which was, you trying to figure out who you are as an individual and doing that up to a certain point. And obviously, there's varying situations that you would apply it for as well. So it depends on, if you're somebody who's suffering from trauma, of course, you're going to need some level of support, right? Because how else do you get through that? And then there's, everyday people as well. For a lot of everyday people, I think there's value in it for everyone, really. It just depends on where you are on that spectrum of how much you need it. And but the reason I think there's a lot of value in it is also, especially if you, given city life, it's quite easy to feel cut off, and we are social creatures. Like, there's, as much as people would like to think that they can do stuff on their own, I'm guilty of that as well, of like, just for whatever reasons in my past, or how I felt about like, or certain attachments that I've made in my past, I've just felt like, I can do this on my own. I don't need anybody else to do this. And then like, moving away from that model of thinking, because you just realize that you will hold yourself back because you're not harnessing the power of groups. And in any kind of capacity, whether it's professional capacity, whether that's personal capacity, you have to have people around you to allow you to excel more. And so if you're feeling particularly cut off, you've got somebody who you can talk to who's there is no judgment. You don't know who they are. You don't know anything about them, and this is just entirely about you, and that's super valuable to be able to do that. And also, I think there's many people. I mean, we covered this with Jude actually back in episode 11. People go check it out. It's a great episode. We had an epic chat with Juju Kablam. That's not really her name, but we should try and get her to change her birth certificate.
So Juju Kablam.
Yeah, exactly. And there's an epic reason why that is her name, but she's with her life experiences as well, like having a lot of people throw advice at her, which wasn't actually helpful at all. And we discussed how that's not helpful in a lot of cases, and we just kind of touched on it earlier as well, where I wasn't telling my client what to do. I was helping them figure out what they need to do for themselves. And so if, you know, I think for therapy, where it holds value is being able to have that conversation where you're not just going to get shitty advice thrown at you, which isn't actionable. You're actually just going to have somebody who's helping you figure out your own stuff. And doing it without judgment, because I think it's quite easy for people to fall into the trap of being judgmental and feeling like, the standard thing of like, if I was you, I would do this. If, you should try this or you should try that. It's like a lot of shoulds, a lot of if I was you, and, here's something for you to action on. But really it's a lot more to do with helping somebody figure out the solution based on the context that they're in. And at least that's what I try and do with friends as well, and with people that I know. If anybody ever comes to me, is like, I'm not going to tell you what to do. I'm also not going to if you're looking for somebody to show you a shit ton of sympathy, I was like, I'll show you a little bit, but if there's a solution, if there's a situation you need to get out of, but all you're looking for is somebody to just mollycoddle you in that situation, I'm not really your guy. I'll be like, I provide some sympathy, but let's move on. And and just a little segue. It was just a classic case of a friend who was like, I broke up with my boyfriend of like 7 years, and I was like, great. She was like, what? You're supposed to be sorry for me. I'm like, why would I be sorry for you? This is amazing. You get to live your life the way you want to. He gets to live his life the way he wants to. You don't hold each other back. It's like, sure, it's difficult, but I'll appreciate that it's difficult, but you've just done something which is, it's going to be better for your life. It's like, okay, I know in that moment you need a little bit of love and compassion, a bit of TLC, but at the same time, as I look at the big picture, which is you're going to be so much better off for it. So, so from that perspective, I think people could do with it, because there's just, unfortunately, there's a lot of judgment that gets thrown around, and really, people don't need that, and they don't need unsolicited advice. They just need somebody to help them figure out their own shit, and sometimes just need somebody just to listen, because what you were talking about, the value of this, the value of us two having this conversation, is that it allows us to formulate thoughts, organize our thoughts, and really understand ourselves a lot better as well. And hopefully other people are getting the benefit of that too. And also seeing that if you do the same sort of thing in your own kind of way, you're gonna experience that benefit as well. And this is like therapy, for me. If you, I'll ask you about that in your own, for your opinion as well. But I feel like being able to do this is like therapy, and the reason is because you are articulating yourself. You're expressing yourself. Expression is what?
The opposite of depression.
Is the opposite of depression, as the hype man shouted out in that book. So expression is the opposite of depression. So if you have the capacity to express yourself in a non-judgmental way, and therapy is your way of doing that, then go for it. Go do it. And sometimes there's a lot of shit there that you can't pass through on your own. You have to be able to do it with someone else who kind of knows what they're talking about a little bit as well.
Totally agree, man. Totally agree. Yeah, the stance I took was largely similar. And I kind of just hung my hat. That was hung my hat. I had this yesterday as well. What was I trying to say yesterday? I was trying to say a word, and I've never been like, you can't get the word out for the undulations in the word.
Yeah,
It was. I'm trying to remember. It was.
can't get out again.
No, I can't remember it. But yesterday I could remember it. I could say it. I knew what the word was, but I just couldn't fucking say
Yeah.
it. It was. It'll come to me anyway. It'll come to me.
Oh man.
But the point I was making with the therapist was, this is a professional. You know what I mean? Like
Mm.
this, the same way that we take our professional endeavor to as far as we can take it. We want to provide the best. I want to believe that there is somebody out there who's done the same thing in this forum. Like we're so new to this forum, but I feel like we get so much value from it. However, if we'd done this for 20 years, you best
Mm.
believe that we'd be good conversationalists. You know what I mean? Like people that
Yeah.
they just come to the dinner table with their forks and knives ready, right? Because they're about to just pull this meal apart the right way, digest every little morsel of information you're giving them, and then be able to keep it right here. Like half the time, sometimes we speak and like the conversation goes, we have to write shit down. You know what I mean? We're literally
Yeah.
helping ourselves. The
Yeah.
training wheels are well and truly on the ground. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
we're here just trying to figure this shit out, but still we provide ourselves with so much help. I feel like that from a perspective of somebody who's seasoned, you know what I mean, like seasoned to the point where, I mean, the example I gave yesterday was like, I want to believe that Robin Williams from Good Will Hunting is out there for me. You know what I mean? Like somebody
Yeah.
who's gone deep and has that. Let's go.
It's not your
Let's
fault.
hear it.
It's not your fault.
It's not your fault. Okay. No, it's not your fault. Wow. Just go into it. Just go into oh man.
Don't fuck with me too, Sean. Don't fuck with me. Not you too.
Yeah, man, I want to believe that that person is there to give me a frame of reference, because all we do here right now is like, we'll talk about this, you'll talk about your experience, I'll talk about my experience, you'll talk about your experience, and it's the same with life. Like someone's going to have trauma, but this guy went to war, held his best friend in his hands while he died, lost the love of his life. Like this is some deep shit. You know, it's
Yeah.
qualified human being to be like,
Yeah,
well, you
man.
think that's bad? This is bad. Like this is really horrible shit. You know what I mean? So it's not about one upping each other, but it's just about kind of
Yep.
being in someone's presence who can actually be like, yeah, I think I know what that's like. This is my experience. Again, like you said, no judgment, but just putting it out there in the sense that, yeah, it's okay. Like I got through it. I'm getting through it now. You can get through it too. And I think that from like, again, the professional standpoint, I'd see it so valuable. And I've actually gone to a place where I have no problem saying this. Like I messaged a client of mine who's a therapist, and I said to her, I was like, is anybody that in this area that you'd recommend? Because I'd love to just go and just experience what it's like for somebody to talk to me in that sense and be like, okay, what would you want to talk about? Like I don't think there's anything deep rooted in me that I need to kind of unpack or whatever, but just to be in somebody's presence who is literally a master at going through the human psyche, that would be an experience on its own. You know what I mean? So like that's something that
Yeah, man.
I want to go into, and I want to see what I can glean from it, not just for myself, but then again, it always comes back to the service that we provide our clients, to be able to enter a conversation and be like, well, did you think about it from this perspective, or I wonder if this would help you, or whatever. That's everything, man. And
Yeah, man.
that makes me super excited to think, okay, I can learn more about periodization, but I can also learn more about myself and my experiences and how to unpack my own thoughts and experiences through going to see somebody that, yeah, there's an inherent level of trust I've got to have with this individual to know that they ain't going to go and spread my bullshit all over town. But then TJ says it all the time, you got to risk it for a biscuit, right?
Yeah.
You got to kind of, you got to jump in sometimes and not just dip your toe in the pool, but actually just jump into that frozen lake, because the benefits could be huge for you.
Yes. Yeah, entirely. Um, yeah, that's yeah. Sorry, you
It's
just because you
part that
gave me,
bus.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, just like wait a second. Like basically the vision. I stood in the middle of a road where it forks in a couple of directions. I didn't know which way I wanted to go.
Okay.
That's basically what happened. I was like, do I talk about the thing that you just said, or do I talk about the thing you said like 30 seconds ago?
Happens a lot
Because
with us
you said,
though.
yeah, exactly. You said a couple of things there. I was like, oh, that's sick. And yeah, like. Be a more effective human being, right? Is we talk about, I think that's one of the phrases now, is like be more effective, be a more effective human being.
Yeah.
Is has been organically come about is the phrase. This phrase has organically come about through this podcast, to be a more effective human being, and that's what it allows you to be. It allows you to be a more effective human being. But yeah, like you said, man, it allows you to deal with your clients better as well. Just on that fundamental level of they're a human being. There's a psyche here that I need to navigate through, and if I have some kind of understanding of what that might look like, then at least I'll be that much better at getting a result with them and just helping them out. And then because you've done it for yourself at the same time, just by you doing it for yourself, you've become more effective for yourself, and then by extension, other people around you as well.
Too right, man. Too right. Yeah, I think that's it's a funny one, isn't it? Like therapy, especially I think I can speak about our culture in the sense that like depression and anxiety and those kind of things, they don't really exist. Like, people don't talk about them. People don't want to talk about them, and they're almost seen like, what do you mean? What do you mean depression? What do you mean anxiety? That's not really a thing. Yeah. But then when there is like, I kind of laughed at this own thought in my own head the other day. I was thinking about delayed gratification, and I feel like there's members of my family that have been waiting for that gratification since the Stone Age. You know what I mean? They've kind of delayed it. They've delayed it so long.
Generational delay of gratification.
Yeah, legit. The backlog is flipping deep.
It's massive.
You know what I mean? They're all just standing there being like, yep, anytime now. Like gratification, pat myself on the back. Oh no, I'll just delay a little bit longer. And it never comes around, and it creates this like bitter human being who's just kind of angry at the world and kind of doing, but not really. Like you say, you're always on about the small wins along the way. Like, and that's such a big thing that I've taken away from this is I never did that before. I was never happy. I'm still not good at that. But at the same time, I take much more time now to pat myself on the back for every little small thing that we've kind of accomplished. And you've definitely helped me with that 100%. So firstly, thank you for that, man. It's big.
No, I appreciate it. I didn't even know that as well. So that's amazing.
Yeah. No, genuinely, man. Genuinely, it's. I mean, I know that. I know my drivers as to my whys and whatever, and I'm not going to be satisfied or happy or even done until a lot of them are ticked off. But along the way, you enjoy the process, making sure you're present, and make sure you're there. One of the things that I think my family definitely struggles with is this. It's a double-edged sword, because the standards are so high that you best be the shit, because we don't want to know unless you are, right? You know what that's like, right? Yeah, you might know what that's like, right? It just seems like there's a, unless you're the doctors, right? No one wants to know you, right? It's like that's the standard, and that's a good thing, because it drives you to be better and drives you to push on and keep pushing on and be all that you can be. But at the same time, unless you stop and applaud your efforts, you're gonna get just drowned out by the amount of work that you have to do. And I feel like this is the elders' generation. They never got that time to stop and think and unpack their own emotions and actually live in the moment. And it just gets them to a place in their lives where it's almost like the whole life has been a thankless task, even though they've achieved so much. And that's not good. That's definitely not good, because it ends up being that all the efforts you made almost amount to nil, which is bullshit. It's just the fact that you've not stopped to acknowledge those efforts. But yeah, a bit of a segue there, but I think that's something that we can kind of take away from the whole mental health kind of aspect, and just unpacking that, like in the forum we talked about this podcast being a means of us therapying each other. That's a way which I'm definitely taking away from it for sure.
Yeah, fully, man. It's like, it's therapeutic in the sense of, like I said, it sets me up for the week as well. Just being able to have conversations, and I'm going to say it again. I keep saying all these like every other podcast or something I've said it. It's like, just have conversations, people. You just, the stuff you get, like the kind of conversation that you had with your brother-in-law yesterday. The kind of conversations I was having with my brother, and even like my mum and dad as well, in the time I was home. It's just it's just amazing, man. It's just soul edifying. It's like there's a phrase, I just can't quite find it. It's not gratifying, isn't the right word, because that's just like, that's egoistic in a way. It's just, there's something bigger than that. And it's not even humbling as well, because again, that just means like, become lesser. There's more. There's something about it where it's just this kind of, in a soulful way, you just something feels fulfilled, just by doing that, just in this micro way, by having that kind of conversation. And yeah, that's really interesting, man. So, because what that makes me wonder about is like before that, like your levels of contentment
Mm.
versus now and practicing that. Was what was that like? Was it ever a place where you're like, I'm actually kind of happy with what I'm doing, or it just never really registered? It was always on to the
No.
next thing.
Yeah, on to the next thing. Constantly on to the
Right.
next thing. Not happy. Like, yeah, there's not really a time that I can remember. And even now, like I'm a big completely honest, like I don't think I've achieved much up until right now. I feel like I've achieved a bit. I feel like I'm happy with kind of where I am. There's always more. There's always like kind of a level where I wish I could kind of polish that up. I can go and do that, and I can go and do this, and I can kind of make sure I'm more competent in these areas, so that if ever I'm called up on this or whatever, then I can come to the table with more more ability or more whatever. But I think what I'm realizing right now is that I can do that, and I will always be somebody who wants to upskill and do better. But at the end of the day, if I'm not happy with my efforts right now, and I don't understand how to be happy, that's a thing that I'm missing out on. Like that's a skill that I'm missing out on. Is as simple as it sounds. Learning how to just be content, learning how to be happy with what you have, and then that comes back down to gratitude. Like we talked about, kind of being grateful, and I massively am. But I think before it was I was so much over to the other side of I can do more, I can do more, I can do more, and it's not born out of a place of ego. I don't think. I think it's born out of a place of I don't feel I spent a lot of my life being effective, so now I need to weigh the scales in the opposite direction, and I need to just put
Right.
my head down and just carry on working until it comes good. And when it comes good, well, then we'll talk. But until then, like, yeah, we need to just readdress this imbalance, because like cosmically, I feel like I've been put here, but I'm not really living true to that, like to the sum of my parts. You know, what I mean, some of my parts to the things that I've been exposed to, good and bad, they should sum to a whole greater than that which I've currently formed. And until that's kind of there, then I'm not going to be satisfied. But that doesn't mean I can't be on the road and be like, okay, good job. And that can be literally 3 seconds of like,
Yeah.
look in the mirror, yeah, keep going. Your face is a bit mucked up, but yeah, it's cool, it's good. It's just the signs of effort. Crack on, keep going. That's it. That's all it needs to be. Because I think any more than that, sometimes you start feeling a bit indulgent, start feeling like
Yes.
you're just like stroking your own ego, and obviously we just that's not something that we ever want to do. But yeah, definitely a moving forward process, and I feel like it's I feel like as much as we talk about other things today, which definitely, in my experience, help us become more effective. That's something that, not that it doesn't help you become more effective. I think that if there's a hierarchy of things that definitely help you become more effective, like doing the damn thing, being aware, being present, being conscious, I place that slightly down. But maybe it's because I'm not really fully there yet, and maybe I just need to keep practicing it to see the full benefits of me kind of being present, being thankful, then moving on from there. What do you think, do?
Yeah, like yeah, there's a couple of things that you said there. Actually, before I jump in, what I think about it is, what's the effect it's had for you to be a little bit more grateful, a little bit more present with the micro achievements.
I think that it's kept me more present. Simply put, it's like kind of it obviously like kind of I'm more aware of the here and now. Therefore, I am more aware of the here and now. You know what I mean? Like I've done the thing, and now I have that power,
Yeah.
like we said about last week. And I think that's a to kind of counter the last thing I said, which was almost downplaying the effects of it. It's a big thing, because if you're here and now, you can almost summate the efforts. You can almost look at it and be like, okay, right, I've done this to get here, this to get here, this to get here. It almost gives you a blueprint to run the next time. You have that down packed, that you can just kind of upload and go again. And that all comes from being aware of the efforts you made, and then just kind of looking at it from bird's eye view, like you said last week, and being happy with it, knowing where you can do better, and just moving forward from there. And I think that
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. And then a case of almost being proud in the moment. That's another thing that come along, because that being proud thing definitely wasn't present before. And I think it's a thing to get over, because I think the way I described it, of feeling kind of too self-indulgent, that's something that we always try and run away from. We don't want to be seen in that light, because we see it attributed with ego, attributed with other things. Yeah, you almost draw the line and be like, I'm aware of myself. I'm not somebody who wants to kind of stroke my own ego, but I do need to be aware that I have made a good effort, and whatever the outcome is, yeah, we've done okay.
Amazing, man. So it's like, so your levels of contentment and happiness have gone up as a result of
Yeah,
practicing
yeah,
this.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think as a consequence of me taking stock in the moment, it's been enabled me to then retell the story to other people that are interested, rather than just be like, yeah, I've just had having a good day, yeah, everything's fine. Like, rather than just having a short kind of stub to everything, which was definitely my way. And that has had a secondary consequence in terms of me simply just talking to express myself has become better, because I've just got that rep of talking through my day, of now kind of explaining the story long form and getting all of it out, getting all the details out, which then has another knock-on effect to the point where, okay, recollection of memory, of enjoying the experience better, of telling the story better, of enjoying the process, all of that stuff goes up.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
I think what you said a few minutes ago I think it's super valuable. I think it's super important. Is learning how to be happy. It's like
Mm.
you can do that. This is what you just done. Is like you're learning how to be happier. So it's not just something fleeting that just comes and goes all the time, or you're just constantly chasing the happiness. It's like actually you can curate that by
Mm-hmm.
having this practice,
Yeah.
which is essentially a gratitude practice. Is Man, there's a lot I could say about it. Is having this gratitude practice gives you that it fills up the tank so that you can actually go and chase the thing that you're chasing as well. So for you, it's like onto the next thing, onto the next thing, onto the next thing, and there was no like kind of sense of satisfaction, and uh, I guess in a way like not really feeling like anything was achieved. Whereas now is like you take a moment and you're like, oh no, I did achieve something. That was great.
Mm.
And having taken a little bit of pride and taking a little bit of satisfaction from it. And like you said, not indulging in it, but you're like, I accept it and I move on from there. And does, I'm curious of your thought on this because I know what it does for me. And what it does for me is basically when I do that, I feel like I have more in the tank to go and chase, to go
Mm-hmm.
and do the thing that I want to do and need to do because I've been grateful, because I've appreciated the little wins. I can be like, okay, I'm moving forward. I'm moving forward. So this is
Mm.
worth it. And I feel like I have more in the tank to move forward instead of, what we talked about previously, which is you're not just relying on motivation, you've actually lived in the moment so that you can appreciate it and then that carries you forward. Do you feel like it does that for you as well, like give you a bit more in the tank?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think the way I've literally just formulated this opinion while you've been talking, is that, say the task is to build a wall, and you got to lay 1,000 bricks, like day one laying 100 bricks. You can only do that in one day. Like, say that was the limit you could do in one day in terms of how much you've got to apply the cement and whatever. All of that day can only amount to that amount of your full project getting done. So it's literally a case of, do I want to be happy? Full stop. Forget about the large project. Like, today, now, do I want to be happy with that effort? If I truly have made all of the effort I can make toward this grand task today, do I want to be happy towards it? It's a choice. Yes, is the answer. You know what I mean? Like, do you want to live a happy life? If this was your last day and this was the only effort you could make toward the greatest task of your life, do you want to be happy with that effort? I pick yes. Like, you wouldn't want to choose misery. You know what I mean? So in that sense, 100%, completely correct. Like that, when I think about it like that, it's almost given me a different perspective upon which to view the whole thing, rather than thinking it from as a form of self-indulgence or like stroking my own ego. That is almost, it's putting the wrong guys on this. It's like taking it in the realm of, oh, somebody who potentially would have an ego or whatever. Oh, I'm not that person though. Just take it as it is. Like, it's with me right here, right now. I'm happy to be happy. You know what I mean? that's the way I can kind of make it make sense.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
beautiful. I like that. You ask yourself the question, do I want to be happy? And it's attainable, man. It's attainable. It's usually it's attainable through endeavor. And because when you've done something like, we were talking about earlier, is that feeling of doing something difficult and just coming through that physically. And it could be anything as well, but we talk about it in that physical realm because this is what we're most familiar with. And it's like, yeah, damn, man, I just did that. I feel happy about that. You ever seen Coach Carter, Samuel L. Jackson?
Yeah, yeah,
You remember when he walks into he's just taking a piss out of the kids. He walks in, he's
yeah,
like, you see that knot? I
yeah.
tied that. I
Yeah.
tied that.
Damn. Can I get some?
Damn.
Can I get some on
Yeah.
top? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you guys are just congratulating yourself for nothing, right? It's like, I just tied a fucking shoelace and you're just getting jacked up about it. That was his point. But yeah, no, it just the phrase just got me thinking about it. But it's like, I did that. I can be proud of that. Whatever it is, that little thing to move you forward. I can be proud of that. I think yeah, that's super important, and that breeds happiness as well, essentially. But I mean, when you were talking about the learning how to be happy and content, and by putting this practice in place of just appreciating the improvements that you've made and the micro achievements on the way to the macro achievement is actually now, again, like, neuroscientifically backed up as well. Like, this process is how you achieve the most, basically. So it's how you get somewhere without feeling like it was all for nothing. It's like, you have, because it can be the case where you get to a place where like the goal means so much, so the pursuit of it is is intense, but then when you get there, you're like, oh wait, is this it? And one of the ways to prevent that feeling from happening is kind of being appreciative of the rewards along the way, of the micro achievements along the way. And then, like, and also, I think in the sporting arena, the people or the sports and the athletes who I know who have been the most successful, and the two that I think of are basically always Roger Federer and Rafa Nadal from a tennis, because just from tennis, and following their careers pretty closely. They are, especially Federer, is like, they do what in the way that you described it, and I feel like you can only be successful if you do it in that way as well, which is you've had a victory, you love it up, and then you go, all right, next thing, because you're not just hinging on that one thing. Otherwise, it doesn't leave anything it doesn't leave that fire in the belly to go do it again. It doesn't leave that capacity to move forward. They're the kind of people who I feel like have that perfect balance between taking a loss, understanding it for what it is, and then moving on from that, and then also taking a victory and appreciating it for what it is, and then moving on from that as well. And I feel like, that's also, to me, is a part of the definition of success as well, is being able to do that, because then you got other kinds of champions. Again, in the tennis sphere, is like someone like John McEnroe, where the geezer was, world number one, and he won like 7 slams, and he was just never satisfied. He was never happy, because it was always about the next thing and next thing and next thing, or also not feeling good enough the whole time. And it doesn't matter about your external successes, and externally, that's everything that you've done is telling everybody else around you that you are victorious, that you are a champion, that you are the best at this. Internally, he was a mess. So is that successful? I don't think so. So if you don't have that process in place, it doesn't matter what the external reward is if internally you're fried, if internally it means nothing. So you have to be able to put those kinds of steps in place, to put those practices in place to appreciate it, so that internally it means more than it ever could externally.
Big, big, 100%, man, 100%. And then that way, you're almost not playing the game of the world. You're just playing the game of your life.
Yes,
In the sense that
that's it.
it's not like we talk about. I like using Israel Adesanya in this example, where he
Mm,
says like he won the belt, and I think he kind of partied with it and he had it around his belt for waist for about a week, and then
mm,
he just put it in a box, just shoved it in a box,
yeah,
and was like, yeah, just we'll take it out when we have to go to press conferences, but it doesn't give me anything past what it gave me now and now, because
yes,
life, there is more for me to glean through my life that I would be missing if I'm just parading this thing around thinking that it's the only thing that's going to give me happiness. Yeah, I like
mm,
the example you gave of John McEnroe as well, because that's it. That's it, right? You can, like, it's like what Jim Carrey says about money. It's like, I wish
mm,
everybody could have millions to realize that it's not the root of solving all your problems.
yes,
And inherently, what he's saying there is just that, like, it's just a scorecard, but that scorecard is isn't isn't going to then correlate to you being happy in your life. You being happy in your life is
mm,
going to correlate to you being happy in your life. And like we talked about today, like
mm,
cultivating that happiness through awareness and through, like, I'm gonna use TJ's example. He said to me a few times, like, when you have nothing, you can actually be happy with any little thing. And I think sometimes we can get lost in that. We can get lost with,
mm,
oh, I need to go and perform this much, or I need to go and match up to this standard being set up by this champion. That means that I can potentially be seen as a champion one day. But
mm,
really, that's just an arbitrary number being set by somebody who you don't even know, and being applauded by people that you don't even know.
yeah,
And all the way along the way, you can make yourself feel accomplished and feel like a champion just by looking at your own life and being, I'm better than I was, therefore I've won, therefore I am my champion. You know what I mean? Like that.
mm,
That's every day. That's all the time. So it's a case of, I'm not stepping into this being like, I'm an underdog, I've never done this before, I had a belt around my waist. It's like, no, I made my own belt. Had it since I was a
mm,
kid. I PR'd every day.
yeah,
I'm older than I was yesterday. I won. You know what I mean? Like that's me.
yeah,
Yeah, totally flipping the script, man. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
I see
But
that, man.
it's yeah, yeah, yeah. It's definitely got to be. It's also got to be in the arena of something that's actually difficult to attain as
Yeah,
well, right?
yeah, yeah.
Because we talk about like it became a big thing, participation trophies. It's
Yeah.
like you can't be you can't be dealing with that. It's just not a thing. I don't even know why it was even debate in the first place. It's like we need to take care of people like kids' self esteem. Is like that's not the fucking way to do it.
No.
That's just not the way to do it. You're basically not providing them with a challenge where and also instilling the mindset where that just by doing the challenge, by taking on the challenge, you are creating a little bit of uh, creating a little bit of a win. It's not just like I was just here and I just showed up. It's like no, and it's about doing something meaningful and
Hmm.
doing something worthwhile, and that's what you're getting. That's what essentially you're just giving yourself like the micro rewards for.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just not.
Yeah,
You're not going to get it any other way.
no, man, you reminded me of something that I said yesterday to my brother-in-law, who was talking
Mm,
about, like, the mountain is the mountain because you need to climb it to achieve something, right? To get to the top of the
mm,
mountain, you got to find the way all the way to the top, and
mm.
you don't bring the mountain to you. You know what I mean? You don't, kind
Yeah,
of like what you're doing with these participation trophies is just like, oh, you just showed up on day one,
yeah,
so we'll just lower the mountain down. Well, you climbed it, you didn't. I mean, you
mm,
kind of you've got to go up it, and it's that changes you,
mm,
to be worthy of somebody who kind of got to the top of the mountain. You know what I mean? But at the same
mm.
time, like what you're saying, it's finding that balance between making it so basic and so simple, but then still finding the other side of it, which is doing something worthwhile and actually having some essence behind it.
Yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Got to have the essence. You got to have. It's got to speak out to you as well. And I think more and more because I'm coming, me personally as well, definitely coming from having like a fixed mindset instilled when I was a kid. Plus, it was everything was kind of externally driven. There was never really anything internal, and I realized that like only really realized that when I started feeling like I don't want to have a corporate job. I want to become a personal trainer. And it was like, yeah, I was just doing a lot of externally driven stuff and it was just not fulfilling and not satisfying. And the thing is, it's like a quarter of a century
Mm.
of having that kind of honed in. And so that's a difficult thing to kind of move away from. And I still catch myself a lot of the times thinking about what does it mean externally, and not in a conscious way. It's just a subconscious thing. It's just like, okay, let's take the growth of this podcast as an example. If I'm constantly worried about Joe Rogan being the benchmark, and is like trying to be that guy or trying to have that number of listeners, then I've already failed, because I'm not doing it for the real reason. I'm doing it for the likes, I'm doing it for the followers, and that's never a way to do it. What I'm really doing it for is evolving, breaking through limits, so like all our values that kind of come through, and then we feel like there's value in what we say for people who want to tune in. And if we keep true to that, then that's, for me, is a lot more valuable than just trying to have a million people enjoy it, because then I can say, hey, here's a million people who enjoy what I do, that means I'm great. It's like, no, not necessarily. It's not, because if inside it's like, if all that you were going for was the external reward, then internally is just too much of a mess. And so I constantly work on building that internal intrinsic reward system, because I've just realized how super necessary it is.
Buddy. Yeah, buddy. I was waiting for that. There was a point earlier we could have dropped it, but you just saved it.
Right.
Just kept us waiting. Yeah, man.
Yeah.
What you just said there, man, it's totally legit, because it made me think of that movie Rampage that I was shitting on a few weeks ago.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
That must have got billions of views, but The
Yes.
Rock knows it's bullshit. Like, he knows. He knows it's bullshit. I'm sorry, right? But like, I don't mean to pick on you, man. But gotta keep it real. Gotta keep. I say it because I love you, man.
That's it.
I say it because I love you.
Man.
Give me some great childhood memories, rock bottoming people and raising the eyebrow. I can't let you slip in standards, man. Don't be. It's like Transformers 2. That crazy guy in Transformers 2 is like, don't suck from the sack, man. Don't be a slave to the sack. Where it's like this corporate America Hollywood bullshit. It's got you fooled, man. Just keep it real.
That's it. None of that, man. None of that.
No.
But it's a good place to leave it, yeah?
Definitely, man. Definitely, yeah. Really good chat, man. Really appreciate a lot of the stuff we discussed today. Gets through.
100%, man. I think, I really appreciate that. I hope for all you listeners, we really appreciate tuning in. Thank you very much. And follow the show on Instagram at Evolve, Achieve, Thrive. Tag us if you're going to share any of the content that's on there as well. Let us know what you think about it. We're keen to hear your thoughts. And we're making moves as well. So we have some good stuff to talk about in the pipeline. And we'll keep it cryptic like that. I don't want to say too much too soon. But really appreciate you guys listening, and tell us what you really take away from these episodes, because we want to keep bringing good stuff to you guys.
Yeah, should we tease the guest for next week? Should we say potentially we got a big player coming on the podcast.
The big player, dog.
The big dog. Yeah, man. Yeah. He's making some serious waves in the fitness industry right now. So tune in next week to find out who we have waiting in the wings for your listening and viewing pleasure.
Lots of experience to draw on from this person, and you're going to get some interesting opinions as well.
Too right. Thank you for tuning in, guys.
Right. Thank you, brother. I'll see you soon.